Let's be brutally honest for a second. You don't have impossibly high standards, and you definitely aren't just waiting for the right one. The real reason you only fall for celebrities, fictional characters, or people who are completely emotionally unavailable is because your brain knows it's a game you can't lose. You aren't a hopeless romantic. You are absolutely terrified of real intimacy. And today, we're going to dissect exactly why your brain is doing this and how to finally stop. Think about the people you usually fall for. The coworker who is already in a 10-year relationship. The friend who takes 3 to 5 business days to reply to your texts. The person who lives 2,000 miles away. Or maybe it's a talking stage that has been dragging on for 6 months with absolutely zero forward movement. You spend hours analyzing their mixed signals. You curate the perfect Spotify playlists for them. You live in a state of constant, agonizing yearning. And when you look at your friends dealing with their real, messy, annoying, everyday relationships, a part of you feels a quiet sense of superiority. You tell yourself, I would never settle for a love like that. My feelings are deeper. My standards are higher. I just love too intensely. It sounds beautiful, doesn't it? It is also a beautifully crafted lie. Let's look at what is actually happening beneath the surface. When you obsess over someone you cannot have, you aren't experiencing deep love. You are engaging in a highly effective psychological defense mechanism known as safe avoidance. In a real, tangible relationship, there are massive stakes. If you date someone who is actually available and actually wants you back, they get a front row seat to your flaws. They might realize you chew loudly, or that you have anxious spirals at 2 a.m., or that you aren't the perfect, flawless aesthetic you present on Instagram. They have the power to reject the real you. And for your nervous system, handing over that kind of power to a stranger feels like a mortal threat. But a crush on an emotionally unavailable person, that is incredibly safe. It is a closed emotional loop. You get to experience the dopamine rush of romance, the butterflies, the tragic longing, the cinematic highs and lows, all from the complete safety of your own bedroom. You can't be rejected if you never actually enter the arena. They can't break your heart, because they never truly held it in the first place. You haven't been failing at love. You have been exhausting yourself in a perfect, risk-free simulation of it. To understand why you are doing this, we have to stop looking at your heart and start looking at the alarm system in your brain, specifically your amygdala. Normally, your amygdala's job is to keep you alive. It scans your environment for mortal threats, like a speeding car or a wild animal, and triggers a fight or flight response to protect you. But for you, your amygdala isn't just looking out for physical danger. It has been programmed to view emotional vulnerability as a life-threatening event. Let's picture a real, tangible relationship. A healthy relationship requires you to stand in front of another person, completely exposed, and say, "This is who I am. I am messy. I have baggage. I need you, and I am terrified you might leave." For someone with a secure attachment style, that vulnerability is uncomfortable, but it's worth the risk. But for you, your nervous system looks at that level of exposure and absolutely panics. Your brain whispers a terrifying narrative. If they see the real me, they will eventually realize I'm not enough. They will leave. And if they leave, the pain will literally destroy me. It sounds dramatic, but your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a bad breakup and a bear attack. To your brain, the risk of real rejection is a mortal threat. So your defense mechanisms kick in. Your brain builds a fortress to make sure you never get close enough to a real person to be destroyed by them. But here is the biological dilemma. You are still a human being. No matter how much you try to isolate yourself, you are biologically wired to crave connection. You still want the dopamine. You still want the romantic highs. You still want the feeling of being wildly, passionately in love. So your brain has to solve a very complex equation. How do we get the chemical high of romance without the life-threatening risk of being rejected? Enter the impossible target. The emotionally unavailable coworker. The guy who ghosted you 3 times but watches all your Instagram stories. the celebrity, the fictional character in a book. When you fixate on these people, your brain is executing a brilliant subconscious hack. It is a psychological loophole. You get to curate a perfect, flawless fantasy in your head. You get the intoxicating rush of dopamine every time they give you breadcrumbs of attention. You get the cinematic yearning, the late-night overthinking, the adrenaline of a crush. But, and this is the crucial part, your amygdala stays completely relaxed. Why? Because subconsciously, you know there is a 0% chance this person will ever actually demand real vulnerability from you. They are never going to knock on your door, ask to see your deepest insecurities, and then reject you. They can't. They are safely out of reach. You call it being a hopeless romantic. You call it unrequited love. Neuroscientists call it safe avoidance. You aren't falling in love with them. You are using them. You are using the idea of them as a shield to protect your ego from the terrifying reality of being truly seen by someone else. But this psychological loophole comes with a devastating side effect. By constantly feeding your brain these high-stakes, dramatic, impossible fantasies, you have accidentally rewired your own nervous system. You have completely ruined your ability to feel anything for normal, healthy, available people. And that brings us to the most uncomfortable truth of all. Welcome to the concept of limerence. It's a term psychology uses to describe an involuntary state of intense romantic obsession. But here is the brutal difference between limerence and actual love. Love is rooted in reality. You love a person for exactly who they are today, flaws and all. Limerence is rooted in potential. You don't love them. You love the version of them you created in your head. You love the script you wrote for them. And because you are addicted to the script, reality is always going to disappoint you. Let's talk about a scenario you know all too well. Imagine a truly good person walks into your life. They text back in a reasonable amount of time. They communicate their feelings. They are emotionally stable, and they make it very clear that they want to be with you. How does your body react to this? You don't feel butterflies. You don't feel excitement. Instead, you feel nothing. Or worse, you feel suffocated. You look at this kind, stable person, and you tell your friends, they're great, but there's just no spark. We just don't have chemistry. Honestly, they're kind of boring. Here is the first major twist of your psychological breakdown. You do not have a type, and you are not looking for a spark. What you call the spark is actually just your nervous system panicking. For years, you have conditioned your brain to associate romance with anxiety. You think love is supposed to feel like a roller coaster. You think it's supposed to be late-night overthinking, decoding mixed signals, wondering where you stand, and fighting to prove your worth. You have completely confused the adrenaline rush of emotional unsafety with romantic chemistry. So when a healthy, available person comes along and offers you peace, your brain doesn't know what to do with it. Peace feels unfamiliar. And to a dysregulated nervous system, unfamiliar feels dangerous. You call them boring because your brain isn't receiving the toxic spike of cortisol and dopamine that it's addicted to. You are literally rejecting healthy love because it doesn't trigger your fight or flight response. And this explains another terrifying phenomenon you've probably experienced, the ick. Let's say the impossible happens, that emotionally unavailable crush, the one you've been obsessing over for months from afar, suddenly turns around and says, "You know what? I want you. Let's do this." According to your fantasy, this should be the happiest day of your life. But what actually happens? The moment they reciprocate, the moment the fantasy threatens to become reality, you suddenly lose interest. Overnight, you get the ick. Suddenly, the way they text annoys you. The way they breathe bothers you. You find microscopic, ridiculous reasons to disqualify them. Why? Because the game is no longer safe. The shield is gone. The fantasy is over, and the terrifying reality of being truly seen is standing right in front of you. Your ego panics, hits the emergency eject button, and disguises your deep fear of intimacy as a sudden loss of attraction. You convince yourself, "Oh, I guess I just didn't like them that much after all." No, you liked the chase. You liked the longing. You liked the absolute safety of them being out of reach. The moment they stepped into reality, they became a threat. And as long as you keep chasing the spark, you will remain trapped in this cycle. But to truly break free, we have to look at the final, heaviest shield you are carrying. Let's move to the final layer of your defense mechanism, and this one is going to bruise your ego a little bit. If you are the kind of person who only falls for people you can't have, there is a 99% chance you also identify as fiercely, almost aggressively, independent. You are the therapist of your friend group. You are the one who solves your own problems. You pride yourself on not needing anybody. You tell yourself, I am perfectly fine on my own. I would rather be single forever than settle for someone who doesn't meet my standards. Society applauds this. We call it empowerment. We call it being a boss, being self-sufficient. But in psychology, we have another term for it: hyper-independence. And hyper-independence is not a personality trait, it is a trauma response. You don't avoid relying on people because you are so incredibly strong. You avoid relying on people because somewhere along the line, you learn that needing someone is dangerous. You learn that relying on others only leads to disappointment. And this brings us to the second massive twist of your psychology, the ultimate, unspoken reason you chase emotionally unavailable people. It is the perfect shield for your ego. Think about it. If you pursue a real relationship with an available person and they dump you, or cheat on you, or simply wake up one day and decide they don't love you anymore, that is a devastating blow to your core self-worth. That means they saw the real you and they consciously decided you weren't enough. But if you fall in love with someone who lives 2,000 miles away, or someone who is married to their career, or a celebrity, you never actually have to face that rejection. If it doesn't work out, which it won't, your ego is completely protected. You get to tell yourself, oh, it didn't work out because the timing was wrong, or it didn't work out because of the distance, or the classic, we are right person, wrong time. Do you see what you just did? You created a scenario where the failure of the relationship has absolutely nothing to do with you. It's the circumstances, it's the universe, it's the timing. It is never your flaws. You are playing a rigged game where your ego never has to take a hit. If you never step onto the field, you can never lose the game. But what is the cost of never losing? The cost is that you are suffering from a profound fear of being perceived. To be perceived means to be truly known. It means someone sees you when you are spiraling. Someone notices the things you are deeply ashamed of. For a secure person, being perceived is the ultimate goal of love. But for you, being perceived feels like standing completely naked in a crowded room. Deep down, beneath the independence and the high standards, there is a terrified inner child who believes that if anyone actually looked closely at you, if they saw your unpolished reality, they would be disgusted and leave. So you hide. You hide behind the fantasy of the impossible crush. You hide behind your hyper-independence. You have built a perfect, impenetrable fortress to keep out the pain. But a fortress that keeps out the pain also keeps out the love. Your perfect shield has become your prison, and the only way to break out of it is to look back at the exact moment you started building the walls. If you want to stop this endless cycle of fake scenarios and impossible crushes, you have to do the shadow work. You have to trace this defense mechanism all the way back to its origin. Your brain did not suddenly decide to be terrified of intimacy in your 20s. It learned to be terrified long before you even knew what romance was. I want you to think back to your childhood. Did you grow up in a home where love was conditional, where affection was only given when you were perfectly behaved, achieved high grades, or stayed quiet? If love was constantly given and then suddenly taken away, your developing brain learned a very painful lesson. Love is not a safe place to rest. Love is a performance, and if you drop the act, you will be abandoned. Or perhaps you were the peacemaker in a chaotic household. Maybe you watched your parents' relationship burn to the ground. You witnessed the screaming matches, the betrayal, the silent treatments. You absorbed all their pain, and without realizing it, you made a subconscious vow to yourself: I will never let anyone have the power to destroy me, the way they destroyed each other. This is why your nervous system is so heavily guarded. You are not actually afraid of love. In fact, you are starving for it. You crave deep, unconditional acceptance more than anything else in the world. but your core wound tells you that love is inextricably linked to devastating pain. So, you found a compromise. The impossible crush, the celebrity, the emotionally unavailable person. By fixing your heart on someone you cannot have, you satisfy your desperate craving for connection, while simultaneously guaranteeing that your vow, to never let anyone destroy you, is perfectly kept. It is brilliant. It truly is. Your inner child created a masterful survival strategy to protect you. But here is the tragic truth about survival strategies. What kept you alive in the past is exactly what is suffocating you in the present. The war is over. The chaotic household is in the past. You are no longer that helpless child who has to earn love or protect themselves from the fallout of other people's broken relationships. You are an adult now, and as an adult, you have to recognize that your armor has become too heavy to carry. It is time to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for pushing good people away. Forgive yourself for wasting years on people who never truly saw you. You weren't being foolish, you were just trying to stay safe. But safety is not the purpose of a human life. And to finally experience the love you actually deserve, you have to learn how to slowly, intentionally put the armor down. And that brings us to the blueprint. How do we actually rewire your brain for reality? So how do we actually fix this? How do you take off an armor that you've been wearing for your entire life? Step 1 is brutal awareness. You have to catch yourself in the fantasy. The next time you catch yourself planning a hypothetical wedding with someone who hasn't texted you back in 2 days, I need you to mentally hit the brakes. Recognize the dopamine hit for what it is. It's a drug, and you have to put it down. Remind yourself out loud, I am not in love with them. I am in love with a script I wrote. You have to kill the fake scenarios before they take root. Step 2. You have to detox your nervous system and redefine the spark. For months, maybe years, you are going to go on dates with genuinely kind, emotionally available people, and you are going to feel absolutely nothing. You are going to think they are boring. Your brain is going to scream at you to run back to the toxic, unavailable chaos because it feels familiar. Don't run. You have to force yourself to sit in the boredom. Because that boredom, that is what peace feels like. That is what safety feels like, to a nervous system that is addicted to panic. Give the boring person a second date, and a third. Watch how attraction can actually grow slowly, like a fire being tended to, instead of a bomb going off in your chest. Step 3. Micro-vulnerability. You need to start letting people see the unpolished version of you. And I don't mean trauma dumping on a first date. I mean the small things. Admit that you don't know something. Text someone first. Tell someone that they hurt your feelings, instead of acting completely unbothered. Let the people in your life see you be a little messy, a little needy, and a little human. You have to teach your brain that being perceived does not equal being abandoned. And finally, you have to accept the ultimate risk. Real love is not an aesthetic Pinterest board. It is not a beautifully tragic movie scene where the unavailable person finally changes for you. Real love is incredibly terrifying. It is looking at another flawed, ordinary human being, knowing with absolute certainty that they have the power to absolutely destroy your heart, and handing it to them anyway. It is time to stop playing it safe. It is time to stop using ghosts and fantasies as a shield against reality. Take off the armor, step onto the battlefield. Stop being a supporting character in the cinematic universe of your own delusions and start participating in your actual life. If this psychological breakdown felt like I was reading your diary, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We do a lot of deep shadow work here, and you do not have to navigate your own mind alone. And before you go, I want to hear from you in the comments. What is the biggest fake scenario or impossible standard you are finally letting go of today? Let's talk about it down below. I'll see you in the next one.